Well, hello. It is 7 o'clock on Tuesday. It must be right because it's Confidence Strategies 101. Thanks for joining me again. I am basically in the throes of creating a new version of Confidence Strategies 101. This is the back to basics edition and it's still evolving. I'm Carmen Milagro. I'm a confidence strategist, CBD educator, an entrepreneur artist, behavioral coach, and lots of other things. So, for the purposes of the show, we're just going to focus on these. This is what I'm calling the recap show. I've been doing this now originally with my first partner. We've been doing this for 14 or 15 weeks. I've kind of lost track, but that's okay. The purpose of today's show, I don't have a guest, so I'm sorry to disappoint you if you're expecting someone, but this is with by design. This I wanted to sort of reintroduce the concept to everyone who's new and those of you who aren't new and are coming back because you are going to see more changes. The intention of this show is still the same. It's to share positive stories and ideas and share resources with you and introduce you to some amazing mentors and coaches and advisors and business, entrepreneurs and musicians and artists and designers. So it's really a culmination of all of my worlds coming together for this broadcast I'm doing uh, every Tuesday. That's the goal. And now we have a new sponsor, which is Music City Hit Factory. So thank you to Music City for allowing me to move into the studio, even though it's under construction. So, and this is live. So you never know what's going to happen. I may hear, the pitter patter of little feet running up above me here. It is what it is. But I'm happy to be in this space because it's allowing me to really kind of meld with my environment. And you will continue to see more changes. I'm really in the process of building the pipeline so that you have access to all the different coaches and mentors, so that you have access to the tips and the ideas and the trainings. I don't have all the answers. I've never claimed to have all the answers. And so we're going to bring different people on to give different perspectives. And that's pretty much it. I know that I am not everyone's cup of tea. My style doesn't fit everyone, and that's okay. Because if we're not in alignment, then we each just keep moving on and moving on to our own paths and our own journey. So that's not a problem for me. I hope that's not a problem for you. We just keep going towards our goals. Last week, we had a wonderful high performance coach for women. Her name was Linda Hales. If you missed that broadcast, you should definitely check it out on either my Facebook pages or on YouTube, on the Carmen Milagro YouTube channel. That's where everything resides. So, one of the other things that I thought I would do on this recap show with you is I've been getting some texts and some emails and some Facebook posts. And some of the comments that I've gotten are actually questions. So I'm going to answer some of those questions today. And if someone is on live right now watching and tuned in, if you send me your email information, now this is all an experiment. This may be a complete disaster, but I've got to try at some point. So the idea is that if you have some questions and you want to join in on some of the topics, whether it's today, which is the recap show, or in the future when I have different guests on, that I want to be able to bring you all on, not all at once. We only have a maximum of 10 guests, I think. I think that's what it is. But bring you on live with your questions and comments or concerns. So it is a work in progress. Bear with me. I think those of you that know me know that I am not a tech person. So the fact that I am even doing this broadcast is huge. So I've got to practice and I've got to start sometime. So if you're so inclined and you want to come on live with me tonight, we will try it. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to answer some questions that have been asked of me in the last few months. I can't believe it's already been a few months, but at any rate, one of the questions that came from Julie is, where are you from? Where are you broadcasting from? Well, Julie, thank you for just writing to me and connecting with me. I'm really happy that you have popped in and out of here. I don't know which broadcast it's been, but thank you. I actually am first generation San Franciscan. I was born here in San Francisco in La Misión, and I was born of Salvadorian immigrant parents. But I did grow up in South City. We lived in San Francisco. I was born in San Francisco, but my parents bought a home in South San Francisco, California. That is where I spent the majority of my formative years, you would say, from the age of 4 till about 35. So I am a Bay Area, San Francisco native and very proud of that. Everything pretty much that I've ever done in my entire life has been based here in San Francisco, in this beautiful melting pot of all these different cultures amongst all my different friends that I've had and met and brought into my life throughout the years. So that's a little bit about my history, where I come from. Another question came in from Anna or Anna. Oh, wow, you guys are really paying attention. She's asking me the question that I usually ask other guests, and she's asking me who helped to foster, and I know she's been watching because those are my words, but she wants to know who has guided my journey of self-confidence and how has that been nurtured and fostered for me, and by whom. And I will go straight to the source. For me, this is no secret. I talk about her all the time. She's always in my heart. She's always in my thoughts, even though I lost her a few years ago. But the source of my sense of self, the source of my self-confidence is my mommy. She was everything to me. She still is. She resides in everything, every thought process, every creative adventure, every journey that I take. And I can honestly say that from where I sit, there's never been a better mother on the planet. She believed in me like I have never been believed in, to that degree of believing in me and everything that I have gone through. She always knew that I would be able to survive and thrive and succeed. So that I owe to her. My sense of self-confidence, my sense of self comes from her love, her pouring in all of her energy, all of her heart into me. And so I feel that I have a responsibility to still not let her down and to be the best person that I can possibly be. That's a little bit of an insight as to who I am and what drives me. Thank you, Melissa. Melissa, you have a question too, so I'm gonna dive in there. Thank you for for watching and for sharing Tuesday nights with me. Melissa, you want to know the hardest thing for me during this during this whole crazy COVID thing. I think the answer to that question is probably not what is affecting most people or many people. I actually, Melissa, enjoy time alone because it allows me to be creative and it allows me to create things. I'm in the process of producing this show. Yes, see, pitter patter over my head. Sorry about the distractions, but It's live. It is what it is. In fact, I know who it is. It's Jasper upstairs. But and Willow, probably his sister too. Um, what was I saying? Oh, I forgot. Okay, so sorry about that. I got distracted. I thrive when I have time to create and develop, whether it's writing a song or creating a business, which I'm in the process of creating multiple businesses right now. There's two hardest things actually. The hardest thing was when I realized, I know it is funny, and sorry guys, it is going to keep happening until the kids go to sleep, I think. Um, the hardest thing for me was the moment when I realized that both of my other businesses that I have had since 1998 and 1995, that both of my businesses have been decimated by COVID-19. And I realized that back quite early. I would say around March 15th or 16th. So I knew that if this was as serious as they were saying, that my two businesses would be greatly, greatly diminished. And actually, they have both been demolished. One business was basically hospitality and travel. And the other business, I was just starting to launch my skincare business. And with the problems in shipping and importing right now, it's not done, and I'm not giving up, but I have to face the reality that I can't get ingredients for my skincare line. I can't run a company when my lead times for the things that I need are taking 32 weeks or 18 weeks. So the hardest thing was to think about what I'm going to create now. But luckily for me, I thought about it early and I found an amazing partner. She and I are like on it. And so I'm actually quite excited about that. The second thing that's been the hardest is being so separated from my dearest friends that I used to make the effort for them and they would make the effort for me to get together. Those two things have been the hardest. But I am okay. And I know that we'll get through this. We have plans in place. We have our support system. So I hope that you all have, those support systems as well. So I hope that answered your question, Melissa. Thank you for, just engaging live. I'm going to, yeah, thank you. Yes, Melissa. We always like to keep God in control, and it's not the setback, but more of a setup. 100%. I agree with you. Thank you. Thank you. I do have another question, actually from from an old buddy of mine that I haven't seen in many years. His name is Ernie. We just got reconnected last night, and he wanted to know why did I create Confidence Strategies 101? Confidence Strategies 101, to be honest with you, was something that I actually had created a long time ago, back in, it was 2005. And Confidence Strategies is actually a component of a nonprofit program that I created back in the day when I was fully immersed in my music career. And it was called Peanut Butter and Jam Music Sessions for Kids. And the component of the program was helping to create strategies that children could use in the world, in their world, at school, at home, with their parents, with their friends at school. This was this whole idea of mine that stems from the belief that art and music in a child's daily life allows them to grow up to be confident young people, which then flows into confident adults. And so the programming that I worked on, that I had I had the beta group and I had the results in front of me. I still have some of those notes and some of that process. wasn't what I would say clinical trials, but it was a lot of data, gathering data from the families and from the children that I worked with. The age group that I worked with at that time was 5 through 12 years old, which, as many people know from the behavioral coaching uh, aspect, those are the really m- the most important years in a young child's life, in my opinion, and others who agree with me. But that is where confidence strategies for the entrepreneur and the startup came, because after I worked in that area for peanut butter and jam music sessions for kids, I also created a program called Pop, which was panel of powerful professionals. Oh, I'm glad I remembered. And that program took the components of confidence strategies and created a mentoring advisory program for young teenagers, high school, and even early college, to help those kids, those young people that were thinking of becoming entrepreneurs, how to give them the basics. And so the evolution. Thank you. Thank you, Isabel. That's wonderful. Thank you. I'm going to show that one because that's a great comment. Thank you. It was based on my role as a behavioral coach, and I ended up creating my own nonprofit. And so it's evolved to the show. The show now is, many coaches work with different entrepreneurs and business people in different areas, and a lot of them work with people who have already established their own business and they need more firepower, like Linda Hales that we talked to last week. But my focus isn't to work with the people who've already kind of got it figured out. I'm not the person that's going to work with the multimillionaires. My passion, and it kind of ties into the next question from Carol. Carol wants to know, how do you give back to the community, which is one of the questions I always ask. The way that I want to give back is to create this community around this show, Confidence Strategies 101, Back to Basics. And I want to focus on helping the startup entrepreneur, the stay-at-home mom who has dreamt of starting her business, but she was busy raising her children and she has no idea where to start. And so I want to provide resources and a place for her to start getting some of those ideas. And it's by talking to different guests, it's by talking to me, it's by talking to different coaches and advisors. Another profile of the type of people that I want to work with is the type of person who, right now, right during COVID, they've never had to think about going into business for themselves because maybe they've always worked for someone else. They were in the corporate world or in the food and beverage world. And now, with everything that has just changed for us all, maybe they're starting to think about the idea of starting their own business. And again, where do they go? Where do they learn? I want to help guide that process. Linda and I talked about it last week, and I'm sure everyone on right now who does have their own business, there was a point where we started and we didn't necessarily have someone that was guiding us or helping us. I'm very lucky, and I wouldn't change a thing in my entrepreneurial journey, but it sure would have been easier if I had someone who had kind of at least gave me some templates and a place to start. Um, I'm not saying that I would really change anything, because some of those mistakes that I made early on and even later on, let's face it, I have made some, there have been some, errors in judgment, choosing the wrong business partner, making the wrong decision in other companies and other things that I had tried. But I still wouldn't change any of that. But I would have really loved a place, a community where their goal was to help guide us into this world of creating your own business. Now, I did have this world once upon a time because thank you, Melissa. She says, "Amen." Um, I did end up doing this. I did this before. I did it when I left the corporate world before I became an entrepreneur. I had a middle life. I worked for 17 years in the hospitality and the hotel world. I worked for a combination of those years. Sort of crossed over a little bit. And I worked also in project management in during the .com era. That was another career. That was my second career. So that was 12 or 13 years. I don't remember exactly. Both of those careers, the hospitality and the project management career, allowed me to free myself from working for someone else when I decided to go into music. I decided that it was time for me to focus my life in music. And I didn't have anyone in that realm either. And so I created, along with a dear friend and a colleague and someone who I respect and admire so much. He was one of the first people that started a digital recording label. His name is Kurt Kunzelman. Kurt, if you're watching, I'm going back because you helped me to start AMP3, which was Association of Music Professionals. I can't talk sometimes, so just bear with me. It happens. Um, and what we did there was we brought musicians and artists and graphic designers and agents and promoters all into this community. We used to have, before Facebook, we used to have monthly events that range from 100 to 200 people, all with the purpose of supporting each other's businesses. So I have done this before. I'm not a newbie in that sense. I've just never done it on this platform where I have to be the tech person and the producer. And I'm loving it. Don't get me wrong. It's just not my forte, but I'm getting more comfortable and it is fun. And that's what I feel like. Like when we were creating AMP3 back in the day, there was a purpose behind it. I was an artist with limited funds. I did have them because I tend to be that person that plans in advance as much as possible. That's a tip for you right there. Plan in advance as much as possible when you're building your company. Create your business platform or your business plan or your business canvas. That's exactly what I did when I was moving from the corporate world into the music world. Now, that sounds crazy to a lot of artists and musicians, and that's why I don't ever really fit into anybody's boxes because I kind of think things the way that I think them. But I planned my exit from the corporate world into the music world. I looked at my finances. I paid off all my bills. I paid off my car. I paid off all my credit cards. I didn't want any bills. I wanted zero debt when I decided to move into the music world, from hotel management and hospitality to project management during the .com era into the music world. I wanted to be free and liberated to really focus on my writing and my singing. And there they go again. And so I made a plan. Did the plan change? And were there lots of lefts and turns and just all kinds of U-turns? Absolutely. But I had a plan, and that is what allowed me to be creative. And in my opinion, I was successful. I ran my music, my band, like a business, and it was sustainable. I was able to meet incredible people in the music business because I had a plan. I was able to travel to different areas of the world and have different experiences through music because I had a plan. So it's the plan isn't the same for everyone. Everyone's journey is different. But here, I want to circle back to the questions. Here on Confidence Strategies 101, back to basics, I want to be able to help as many people as we can. I'm thinking of actually creating a sub platform that the show will thank you, Isabel. I'm going to put that one up there too. I'm hoping to create a platform here where we can build this stable. Now, again, I'm thinking out loud because you're watching me brainstorm live. This was what the recap show for me was intended to be. I want to share with you the evolution of things. And I may come up with some crazy ideas, and then, 3 months from now, it didn't work out. That is okay. That's another thing to keep in mind when you're trying to build a new business or pivot your old business. So, one of the things that I'm sort of tinkering with, and I've talked about it from the beginning when I first started this show several months ago or a few months ago, I want to figure out a way to have this arsenal, this stable of advisors and mentors and coaches from all different levels on all different, in different price points, but to have this Confidence Strategies 101 be the pipeline to that. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. But one of the ideas that I came up with, and I would love your feedback. I'm always going to check on the Facebook page because I really can't do everything together at once, but I'm trying. I think I'm getting better. I I will. I'll get to that question next, Melissa. It's about the music world. I promise I will. But one of the things that I'm thinking is that perhaps I can create sort of this online beginners seminar, and I know that when you're a startup, when you are starting out for the very first time, what is typically the number one concern? The number one concern is finances. Unless you're a trust fund baby, or unless you already have the funds, you already have the working capital. But even when you do have money to start a new business, you still have to be budget conscious. I mean, we have all heard of those horror stories when people take their startup money and they buy the company car before the company is even launched or before they're even making a profit. Usually, those stories don't end well. Usually, it becomes a problem for the investor. But what I'm thinking is that because when you are a startup, when you are building something from the ground up, you don't have thousands of dollars for a 12-week course with a coach that is, yes, they can give you the results, but you're just not ready there yet. So I'm thinking of something along the lines of like 99 cents per minute coaching, where you can stay on for half an hour or an hour, and it's a one-time fee. Again, these are just ideas that I'm rolling around in my head, and I just wanted to share them with you. I'm going to thank you, Melissa. Why can't I get to that? Oh, here we go. Melissa wants to know about my music world. Sure. I love talking about it's actually no knocking on the door. That's the second question. It's actually the kids running around on the floor above us. Remember, I'm under construction, and I don't know if I could do this, but I'm sitting in an office that is, the walls are actually plastic and taped, and the ceiling is all removed for the time being. So yes, we are under construction. Literally, I have to wear a hard hat if I'm going to go anywhere else in the building. So that kind of construction, that's what we're in the middle of, but it'll get better, I promise. But the music world, if you're interested, I still do sing. I don't perform in public. I am working on another project with my very first duet partner. So there is something in the works that is hopefully going to evolve into something really cool. We just don't know what that is yet. But in the past, I had my own band. It was the Carmen Milagro band. I am a writer and a lyricist. I was the lead vocalist. I was the band leader. And what I was able to do for those years, I wouldn't trade for any amount of money or anything. It was what I had dreamt to do ever since I was a little girl, and it was one of the dreams that my mom always fostered. But she believed it for me much more than I did until I just took the bull by the horns and I got tired of making millions of dollars for my company that I worked for during the dot com. I'm not saying that I wasn't well paid. I did very well in that era of my life. And that was how and why I was able to decide to do something for myself. And it wasn't really the idea of building a music company or a music production or video production company, which it did turn into because I can't help it. But the idea was to leave the corporate world and do something that filled my soul with joy. And that has always been music for me. And I, yeah, I had an amazing uh, run and actually taking some of that experience as well, because not everything is always peaches and cream. I did have a horrible um, derailment. At the time, I thought it was horrible. But it turned out that it was an excellent, excellent educational opportunity. It cost me thousands of dollars, but I also looked at it as well, that was the tuition that I paid to become educated about the business of music. And trust me, I have never made that mistake since then. And so I just sort of see it as part of my education. But I did have an opportunity to travel and had a residency in Tokyo, Japan. I was the headliner in Roppongi Hills, which was the international hub of Tokyo, of all of Japan. That was an incredible part of my life. I still have wonderful friends from that era. I was able to travel twice to Cuba because of music, because of the nonprofit peanut butter and jam music sessions for kids that I created. I was able to take instruments and guitar strings and guitar picks and other necessities for children in Cuba in the music schools there. I took my band. We went and traveled to Frankfurt and did some private shows. I've also been able to sing in El Salvador with my family. And I recorded my first album in El Salvador. So that's a little bit of my music history as far as the artist and the entertainer. But I did turn that into a music and video production company. So I probably love creating music and writing music just as much as I love creating a new company. To me, it's a very similar process in my mind and in my heart and my soul. And everything that I do is to try to share joy and try to help other people the best way that I can. It doesn't always work out that way. That's life. We all know that, especially at my age. We all know this. But I do live by the thought process of I'm never going to quit. I'm never going to give up. If one thing doesn't work, I'm going to spin it, turn it upside down, rip it apart, do whatever I need to do to come up with something else. So I hope that answered your question, Melissa. I actually didn't think that I would be on for more than 30 minutes today, but thank you for, for keeping me engaged, and thank you for asking the questions. Trying to see what this is about. Um, Thank you. I hope to do that more and more as we grow and we become more um, rooted in the community. That is what I would like to continue to do, is offer the advice and offer resources, again, for people who are just starting out. And if I can help prepare them for the next step in their growth when they're ready to dive into a more intensive coaching program, there's three things that I believe that you need before you spend that money, before you get into those programs. Linda and I talked about this last week. Linda Hales, the high performance coach for women that was on the show last week. She's very intentional with the clients she takes on. She doesn't work with people who aren't ready. And so, what I believe, my coaching premise, the confidence strategies, you must know who you are, as an individual, as a business person. I believe that you need to know who you are in order to become who you want to be. I believe that you need to you need to know why you are doing what you're doing. Why are you creating a business? Yes, we all want to make a profit, need to make a profit. Let's be real clear. You don't go into business not to be successful. You don't go into business not to make money. Money is not evil. Money is a tool, in my opinion, that you can use to enhance your life, your family's life, your colleagues' life, your community's life. So I don't subscribe to that. Some people feel like money is the root of all evil. I do not believe that. But I do believe that if you are going to be successful and you are going to make money, you need to know why you're doing what you're doing to begin with. And then the third component of confidence strategies is how. Have a plan for not only your business, but for yourself. And the reason why these three components are so critical in the way that I teach, in the way that I coach, it's because, hi, Veronica, thanks for tuning in. It's because when you are certain of who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're doing it, when you are absolutely sitting in the best self-confident person that you are, you cannot be derailed. You can't be misled. You spot all the things that are not in alignment with who you are immediately or pretty quickly. And what I mean by that is, for me, it's always every single business, every single plan, every company that I have worked for or that I have started. The intention for me is always one thing. How is this going to serve other people? How is this going to help someone else? Now, that's not true for everyone, and it doesn't need to be true for everyone. It's okay if your only goal is to make money because you want to live an incredibly wealthy lifestyle. That's okay. That's what you want. That's what you're going after. There's no problem. No one should get in your head about it, nor should they, look down upon it or criticize you or judge you for that. What I'm saying is that when you know who you are, the core, I envision the way that I see this for children, for young adults, for people who are 40, for people who are 30, for people who are just starting out or they have to create an entire new business because the one that they had has gone under. The core of who you are, when you know all of this, and it takes work. It's not, in my program, in my opinion, it's not just scratching the surface. It's really, really going in deep, because what I want to help you all build is that iron core, that immovable that it's no matter if everything else is falling around, apart, your relationship, your health sometimes. But when you can circle back to, who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it, how you're doing it, it's that fountain that keeps you going. So like Melissa says, it's you are never going to quit because your core won't allow you. Now the opposite of that, again, my belief system and my coaching is, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what your brand stand for, at all the back layers, all the work that you did to create that brand, what does it stand for? If you don't know that, you become a target. You become a target for failure. You become a target for people who are going to try to lead you down a separate path. And maybe that's not your path, it's theirs, and they believe in it, and that's great. Thank you, Jasper and Willow. I'm sure it's going to be their bedtime soon. But it's you sometimes, because you don't know who you are and you're not in alignment with yourself, you join up with people who aren't in alignment with you, and that could derail you or delay you or sidetrack you. Now, it's not a perfect system. We're not all robots that, once we have this formula, it's all figured out and there will be no failure. No, that's not what I mean. But what I mean is that you'll always come back to your sense of self when you know who you are behind the brand, behind the company. So I think, oh, Melissa, it's your bedtime too. Yeah, I know. It's been a long day for me too. But again, I hope that by sharing these moments and these recaps, what I'm calling the recaps, that it'll remind you and it'll help guide you, and hopefully you'll continue to tune back in. Early on, when this was the partnership that I had with Mauricio Mejia, we talked a lot about some actual physical steps that you could take during COVID. If you were around back then and you took our advice about, looking at your financing, renegotiating your loans, renegotiating your credit cards, if you had some experience doing some of those tips that we shared with you, I would love to hear from you now and let us know what has happened. And maybe you kind of rolled with it and figured it out even more than we were able to advise you, on the quick shows. I would love to hear about some of the things that you took away from the previous shows. All of that is really important to continue the dialogue. And I do really appreciate every single one of you that keeps tuning in every other week, every week. Those of you that watch on, what do you call it? A watch party on Facebook. I appreciate the comments and all the questions that you've been sending me. I think, I do have one more, and I didn't write this one down, who it was that asked me, but they wanted to know how to connect. So you can always connect with this live each week, Tuesdays, Pacific Standard Time at 7 p.m. Confidence Strategies 101, back to basics. But you can also find these videos and all the other things that I record. It's on my Carmen Milagro YouTube channel. You can find us on our Confidence Strategies Facebook group. Please join that group whenever you have time. And yeah, you can just look for us on my Facebook page, my Twitter account. I'll try to always sort of let you know what's going on. I do want to mention, besides, thanking you all. Oh, I love your motto, Melissa. ImagineHope. We need to show that one. That's a great hashtag. I really love that. I can very much connect to that. But I want to mention that next week, see, today is August 4th. Next week, I have a really interesting and I think unique show for you planned. We've got it planned with Dr. Sandra Camacho. She is an auric field expert, and what she does is she reads your colors. And I want to dive into the process with her because I did actually go through that process. But in this particular case, usually I like to go in cold. I like to just dive in and see what happens. But I don't know that that was the right approach with the work that she does. And the reason I say that is because I didn't really know what to expect. And so, what I want to do is the show next week will be about diving into her process and what it means so that anyone watching and then decides to go to her as a coach. She is the creator of innerwealthywoman.com. I believe that's the website, and I'll look it up and I'll make sure that I put the right one in the comments. But she helps women through their entrepreneurial journey in a very different way. And I was very intrigued. And now that I've gone through the process, I want to sort of dissect it a little bit and sort of deconstruct it for you. And then on August 14th, we have Veronica Penagos. She's an executive level coach, and she's going to come on and help us through and answer some questions. And again, in the future, I want to bring on some of you that are watching live. If you're so inclined, we can bring you on live. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Thank you for letting me talk for over 45 minutes. Yeah, I know I can talk a lot actually, and I could probably keep going, but I'm going to let you all go and let you get some rest. Again, thank you for those of you that are always here with me. I do feel you. I do thrive on this. And I hope that in some small way, you get these little pops of strategies and nuggets of information. If I can help one person with any of these videos, then I feel like I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing on this part of this journey. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you everyone for staying with me. And I'll see you next Tuesday right here at the Music City Hit Factory Studios under construction. And one of these days we will have a ceiling, so the acoustics will be a little bit different, and I can't wait for that day, but I'm extremely grateful that they're allowing me to come in here and get used to the space. There's lots of things coming down the pike here, so I'll keep you posted on that. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Thank you thank you. Thank you all for I feel like you're part of my family, and I look forward to seeing you every week. Take care, everyone. Ciao.